So first and goal, Calaveras, Curran under center. He'll hand off. It's the same play. 32 on the left side, and why not? Touchdown, Calaveras!
And again, that left side of that O-line, they're doing a fabulous job. I mean, again, he was around the corner, and he didn't get touched until he got to the end zone.
So with 2:29 left here in the first quarter, Calaveras rushes in their third score of the game. 32, Caden Spur around the left tackle. As soon as he got the ball, nothing but running room. And I'll tell you what, he's got to buy lunch for that whole left side of the offensive line this coming week, right? Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. I'm your host, Gil Valtierra, the voice of Calaveras football. I'd like to welcome into the studio my guest, legendary offensive and defensive line coach at Calaveras High School, Coach Scott Anderson.
What up, baby? What up?
Coach, they love you around these parts.
Hey, man, I love that intro. O-line love.
O-line love, man. Yeah. Hopefully, Caden Spur did buy lunch for those guys, because I remember specifically that play. And, I mean, that was like a full-on royalty entrance into the end zone.
Yeah, we love those under fronts, They get that 3 technique in a weekend. Go at it.
Let's have it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Go at it. Thank you very much.
Well, Coach, thanks for being here. And I got to tell you what, I am fired up to do this episode. I have been for some time. I want to get right into it and start talking about those unsung big boys up front who make it all happen. The offensive line. I call this episode the offensive line. It all starts up front.
Yeah, you know what? You're right on the money there. You coached the O-line for many years as well. So these guys are grinders. They're not to say that the backs and the quarterbacks aren't going to make great husbands, but these guys are the blue collar guys that put accolades aside for the team, and got to hand it to those type of kids.
They do the dirty work.
Yeah,
they bring that metal lunch pail and their hard hat, and they're going to do that dirty, grimy work that is unpopular, that nobody wants to do, but everybody knows it needs to get done.
Yeah, it's nice that you got a couple of kids that are willing to scrap up there as well. We like those type of kids.
Well, then let's get started. Let's get started with the only guy other than the quarterback who touches the ball on every play, which is the center. Well, Coach, what are you looking for in the center? Let's talk about, body type, athletic ability, intelligence. When you start looking at the center, what are you looking for?
Well, we're looking for all three, right? Someone that would fit into Central Catholic's roster would be great. You want to talk about
Coach Canepa, if you're listening, any extra guys, a little extra,
Yeah. Kirk up there in Sonora too. He's got a different body type up there, man. They're lean and mean, They're like I don't know, what are those hound dogs that race down the track? Greyhounds, man. They're all built the same.
They're strong,
fast, got the teeth snarling.
I had Coach Kirk Clifton in here not too long ago, and he loves that I call you legendary.
I know, whatever. Yeah, there's probably a few legendary stories in there somewhere. But I appreciate that.
Okay, so you're looking for all those things. Tell me a little bit, what's different about that center spot than the guards and the tackle? I mean, obviously he's got to snap the ball, right?
Yeah.
And so he's got to, can you teach anybody to snap the ball, or is there like some guys that just do it better than others? I mean, the play doesn't start until he gets that snap off.
Yeah, you're not going to teach a first-year walk-on junior to play center anywhere, anyhow, any level. We look for guys that have done it before, or it's a fullback that's just not going to see the field. We'll take that guy too. But we like the smarter kids. We've got a really good one right now. Buddy Kavanaugh, he's gonna do some good things this year. He's dedicated. He's smart. He understands my language, and our scheme probably better than any of the other kids that I've coached in the past. but he's undersized. But I'll take that, man. If he's going to stand out there and be able to direct his fellow teammates to the spots, especially in our offense, we're playing both ways, man. We got to get win somehow, some way. So there's always a chance that there's going to be a sub, second team guy in one of those spots. So he's got to coach him up. You can't rely on everybody else to do it. So
is it tougher to be at that center spot? Because, you look at both guards, whether you're on the left side or the right side, or both tackles, left side, right side, they have a blocking assignment. They know where the ball's going. They know the play. They know they're blocking. But the center, he's got to first get the snap. And then after that, he's like, okay, I have a blocking assignment to do as well.
Yeah.
And then being in the middle of the field as opposed to just one part of it, does that make it a little bit more difficult?
Oh, yeah. He has to know exactly where we're at on the field, down in distance. I ask my guys to take a peek at the sticks, at least the box, right? And understand what down it is. And Buddy's really, really taken that role to a different level. I don't know. He's, the center is the most critical part of the football team, honestly. If he doesn't get it off, nobody's going anywhere, right? Quarterback, great. He gets all the girls. He deserves it. The quarterback's a smart guy too, right?
Right. He's got to know everybody's responsibilities.
So good story. I played center in college, and I'm not the smartest guy out there, but I made it happen. I understood football, right? And
you had a football IQ.
Angles, yeah. Get me in an algebra class. I thought it was English, with all the
all those letters,
all those letters in it. But anyway, let's get back on track. Smarter guys are a benefit for sure. Getting into the huddle, you got to listen to the play. Then you got to think about who's in the huddle with me, and do I have to tell that guy what he's doing, plus do my job to get the ball off, and then you got to step it at 45 and get one hand on him and fight with the other one up there.
Do I got a guy right on top of me that's trying to mess up the snap, or is he to the left of me or right of me?
Right.
Oh, wait a minute, here comes this backer that's creeping up.
Yeah. Could you imagine, your first game, let's say you're starting in a Division I LSU opening day, you're a freshman center. Could you imagine how puckered your butthole would be? Oh my goodness. They get plenty of practice but still just the magnitude of that. Right. And then add somebody puking on the ball while you're, while you're snapping. Have you seen that on the NFL? Oh my God. Or even in college, early in the season, they're not used to the weather, and those nose guards D linemen just start heaving. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah. So we mentioned Buddy Cavanaugh, who's the current center for Calaveras varsity team. Let's talk a little bit about maybe of all time. Let's mention some old school centers that played for Calaveras back in the day that you would mention and say, hey, he was a hell of a center.
We've been fortunate since I've been a varsity, O-line coach. I don't know, going on a few years. We've been fortunate that we have kids that have played those positions year in and year out in Pop Warner through the JV level. And I'd hate to, leave somebody out, but a few stick in my mind, and Buddy is right there in the mix. He's with the smartest, most, he's not the most physical, but he never gets beat. 90% guy, when we grade him out, A+ every week. But Gary Gellerman, I think he's a doctor in, physical therapy now.
Nice.
He talk about smart. That guy was a machine, right? He was probably what you're looking for: size, speed, smarts, and weight room.
The whole package.
That dude could lift the entire weight room. Him and his brother in there wasn't a weight left on the floor, right? Nothing on the rack. They were just getting it done. But he was damn good. Eli Tom, he went on, both these guys went on to play at the JC level. I think Gellerman went to Delta, played for a few years, and he went to the University of Mary. When he was in college, he played, I think he played linebacker or D-line. I don't think he was an offensive lineman, but he ended up playing as a linebacker at Mary, and he was a stud.
I bet.
He played up there with Scotty Maldonado.
Okay.
Yeah. From us.
And Eli played for Butte. And then after that, didn't he go to like Northwestern or something like that?
He went
to Chicago.
Yeah. And he was a preseason All-American guy too.
Wow.
but unfortunately, size does matter once you get to the next level. Eli was always an undersized guy. He had, I used to say that he had a bus driver butt, the bus drivers, they get the big old butts on him. That's what he had, but it was perfect. He had good anchor, good balance. He always thought he could be a tight end or a fullback, but I can remember a few stories about him, man, coming down during the All-Star game, and he's wearing like a number 49.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, okay, this is your show, bud, but you're going to earn your money with your hand in the dirt. So get ready for that. So he did pretty well at Butte too. I think he won 2 state championship rings and natty. I don't know if he got a natty, but yeah.
Good stuff.
Good, tough guys. And early on, I can't remember past,
right.
7-10 years. So sorry, boys.
All right, well, let's move on to the guards, the left guard, right guard. What are you looking there for, Coach, when you're picking out your guards as far as, same thing, body size, smarts, all that good stuff. What are you looking for?
A greyhound, but no, I look for the wrestling type guy. Obviously I'm going to take the big, fast, Islander any day, anytime, any week. But we just don't get those big, fast Islander guys up here. And when we do, man, where he's going to be, either fullback or guard. So
it's funny you mention that, because I've always looked at fullbacks and guards as almost, they're cousins, right? I mean, they hang out together. That's kind of like, you go from the second string fullback to a first string guard, or
So that's kind of what you're looking for, is a big solid anchor, quick guard, strong guard, or a couple of different things for us.
So they got to be good on their feet. They got to be able to move. A lot of times they're going to pull. Yeah, they're going to pull in different directions. In traps and those types of plays, go hit power guys, different angles.
Yeah. So you got certain guys that you're going to kind of pigeonhole, to one side or the other. If we're a pulling team, we flop the offensive line. So there's no real key if it's right or left, other than, if you can dial in on, analytics, whatever that is anymore. But it's coming to high school. But anyway, the right guard, quick guard, or left guard, I'm sorry, quick guard. He's more of a combo guy, because we're going to, trap and do all that stuff, to the quick side. So we'd like him to be physical, point of attack, get a mover, get a good double team, climb to the second level and knock that bastard on his ass too.
There you go. So what do you think, what would you say is the difference between the guards to the other lineman spots, to the tackles and center? What makes them the guards and them different?
They have to have a little more energy, like we love wrestling guards, man. Those are kind of the best guys you can get, because they're going to be getting conditioned for the next season.
They're in great cardiovascular shape,
and they got that dog in them. Not saying that any of the other positions don't, but you got to look for that dog, right? And they're all pretty much wrestlers. 5'9", 5'10", 185, maybe 190. And just that are quick and no angles and are able to push a big guy out of the hole.
Right.
So, yeah.
Any either current guards on the team or overall, like old school, back in the day we had a guard that was just an incredible guard. Guys you want to mention? Yeah.
Ryan Upchurch was pretty good back in the day. He was a wrestler. Tall, lanky guy. He was, he's probably 6'1", maybe 1.5, but he was 195. But it just
that's a little odd, right, for guards to be that tall.
Yeah, he was lanky. We've had a couple of them. This year we had Logan Converse.
Okay.
He missed the second part of the season. No fault of his own, but we'll not talk about that. But he was a really, really smart kid, quiet. Able to turn in the corner. If we're running power O or power whatever, you got to get across the center quick. Yeah, and we've got a future guy that's going to be pretty good. Michael Crandall is going to come up and do. He played strong guard for us last year. He's another wrestler, man. He's just a bad dude. All these guys are pretty strong. I wish we had more of them. That had the dog in them.
Yeah. Any other besides Ryan Upchurch?
Man, I'm trying to think.
We almost have to bring yearbooks in here.
I know. Yeah. Like I said, you get past 3 or 4 years now. I can't remember shit. So, but I'll try. I'll come up with something down the road.
You got nothing on that list you got going there for guards?
I was trying to think about it. Who do you got? What are you thinking? Who
was the guy? Was it Cardona or the guy that was like the cowboy Mexican dude who was just tough as nails?
Was that Noah? That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a few years ago.
Oh, Ricky.
Enrique Cardona. Was it Cardona?
Yeah.
That kid was tough.
Yeah, man.
It took a while for his football IQ to get up to speed because he had never really played before. But man, even if he knocked the snot out of the wrong guy, he still knocked the snot out of him, and he wasn't afraid of contact. And you get him pulling and trapping guys or getting to the next level and hitting a linebacker, and he was not afraid of contact.
Yeah, he was a cowboy kid too.
Yeah,
he and his family broke horses before school, during school, after school. One time he had like this. He was hanging onto the horn, I guess, on the saddle, trying to break this horse, and came to practice, and he had a perfect, probably 2-inch in circumference circle of blood. And he rolls into practice. I go, "What are you doing, Ricky?" I call him Ricky, right? And he's like, "Oh, I need tape." I'm like, "Fuck, dude, you need a tourniquet. What are you talking about?" Yeah, he was tough. I love that guy, man. I see him all the time.
He was tough as nails.
Yeah.
He was, like I said, I wish he would have played sooner.
Yeah.
And like got that football IQ up.
Right.
But man, either way, tough kid.
Yeah.
We always used to joke around and say, hey, if you were in a back alley,
you're my guy.
He's one of those ones.
Yeah.
He's right there with them.
Good story about that. I had to drive the van one year down to, I can't remember if we're at Central, whatever. I got stuck with van duty, and I had the Cardona boys. And
I think I remember that year. We all drove vans.
Yeah, that sucked. But I had those two guys in my van, right? Because we're going to San Andres, and they're from San Andres. Anyway, so they're his brother. I can't remember what his brother's name is, but that doesn't matter. His brother's like, "Hey, coach, we get in the, at the scrimmages, varsity plays on one side, JV's playing on the other."
Right.
And he gets in. This is how green those guys were, right? And we're going down the highway, and he goes, "Hey, coach, man, this is gonna be great. Football's gonna be great." I said, "Yeah, you're gonna have a great time. Let's." He goes, "Yeah, my parents are gonna be able to watch both of it at the same time." He thought that's what football was, JV's play on one half. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, man. And I wasn't going to go into detail.
That's funny. All right, coach, let's move on to the offensive tackles. So now you got, you have the center who's snapping the ball, the guards right next to the center. And then now those offensive tackles are next to the guards, or, the guys on that end line of the scrimmage, unless you're the strong side where the tight end is. Let's talk about those offensive tackles. What are you looking for there?
Again, the prototypical Central Catholic guy with Sonora's heart. How about that? That'd be a dynamic front.
How about add a Calaveras cowboy in there somewhere too, right?
The sockless cowboy boots on.
If you ride bulls for fun on your own time,
right.
Or we also had those guys who would do their own MMA and do videos in the backyard on their own time.
I was telling that story the other day, and they're like, "No way," because they were mentioning Monty Wilson.
Yes,
that group, man. Oh my God, could you imagine Monty playing guard? Holy cow,
he probably could do it.
Oh yeah, he would have killed it. He was that guy, man. Yeah. So tackles. Okay, yeah. I'm messing around, but we'll take whatever we can get. How about that? And we'll turn them into something.
But specifically describe their job, how it's different than the guards. Okay. Right? They're a little bit different than the guards because they're not moving as much as the guards do.
Yeah, well,
their job's a little different.
It is, but it isn't.
Well, like let's say in the passing game.
Yeah, well, in the passing game, of course, yeah. Depending on where the guy lines up, I don't know what that wide 9 BS is, but,
right?
But even if he's a step and a half outside, you've got to be quick, backing up, and be ready to strike. Fortunately, we don't pass that much, so we're always thinking go forward.
Coach Mosa, I think that was a shot at you. But anyways, Let Curran free.
Let free Curran. That's what,
Get the signs out there for protesting with the picket sign. Free,
let him eat.
Free Curran.
Let him eat. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah,
okay, so offensive tackles, passing, they got to watch that edge. They got to kind of protect that edge. Clearly, the quick side tackle, the one that's away from the tight end, everybody's seen the movie Blind Side. He's, for a right-handed quarterback, he's covering that blind side of the quarterback. In run plays, he's probably going to have to down block, get to the next level. Yeah. Sometimes he's got a guy on him. Sometimes he doesn't. So lots of different variables and responsibilities there, right?
Yeah. In our offense, you've got to be able to move, both ways, because we run our sweep and we track block, and it's almost like outside zone. They call it outside zone now. That's just sweep, toss, whatever you want to call it. I don't. At least up front in our contact points are, So, yeah.
Okay. Any current offensive tackles for Calaveras or back in the day tackles you want to mention?
I shoot, man. I've been pretty fortunate. I'm not as fortunate as guys like Roger and that have an all-state guy every year, but I've had some pretty good ones at tackle. The number one guy that comes to mind is Troy Baker. He's just an athlete, man. He could have played fullback. He could have, I don't know. He could probably tell. He'll tell you. He could probably.
We had him on an episode. We had him. Yeah. Last season he was on an episode.
Yeah, Troy could. He would probably tell you that he could backpedal and cover somebody back in those days too. But he had a great mindset, man. He was a all-state tackle for us his senior year, wrestler, all-state. He made the state meet in wrestling, and then all-state shot putter.
If you're an all-state wrestler, I'm going to probably have to go with Troy on this. Maybe he could cover somebody.
Yeah, I guarantee he'd say he could. That's my guy, man.
Maybe not so much now, but back then.
Yeah. He's my guy. He'd walk around the track. He'd be back in town. He coached in Europe, of course, and he coached all over the United States and Division 1, 2, 3, whatever it is.
He absolutely loves the game.
Oh yeah,
I bet his X-ray his chest is heart shaped like a football.
Right. And he was fortunate enough to coach a few years over there, and I've always kept in contact with him. When he'd come back, it always happened to be during playoff football, and if we were out of the race, we'd go watch a game or two, and yeah, he just loves it, man. He's one of my guys, man, for sure.
Anybody else besides Troy Baker?
We had another kid that was an all-state tackle. It was Kenny Moody. He was just a probably a 6'1". You remember Kenny? He was about a 6'1" kid, but he had 6'8" arms. He was just he had real long arms, and
that's helpful.
Yeah. Kyle Olson was pretty good. A good story about him. It was mid-year, and we're right in the thick of it, and we're at practice, and he dislocates his finger, right? And I'm like, "Fuck, we're having pizza tonight, man," And I'm thinking to myself, "Well, I'm the guy that's going to have to take him because it's
everyone's gonna be eating pizza. I'm gonna be stuck in the ER.
Man, come on, man." So I'm like, all right. So I pop it back in, try to semi in, semi out, and then I said, just make a fist, right? So he makes a fist, and I said, "Hey, you need to go to the doctor or what? Do we need to call your parents?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know." I said, "Hey, dude, we got pizza tonight." He goes, "I think I can make it." Like, that's my guy. So he made the list just for that story alone, man.
That's another thing about those offensive linemen and motivation, right? Yeah. I mean, I've seen you over the years bring McDonald's cheeseburgers. Yeah. When it comes down to food, it's like,
Well, 99% of our conversations in early practice is I ask them what they've eaten and what do they want for dinner tonight, and I said, "Hey, one of these days you might just get it from old Coach Anderson. You never know, so yeah, we talk about food. The JoJo machine down there at the jackpot kicks off, and that vent comes up. We smell fried chicken and JoJo's, man. We're like, ooh, it's like a bunch of hound dogs sniffing at the air. It's real. There could be 15 volleyball players running around the track, and that thing would pop off, and that smell would come. They'd be looking the other way.
It's like ringing the dinner bell. It's like practice is over.
Ridiculous.
Did you go to the managers? Hey, do me a favor. Don't turn that thing on until about 5:30 each evening. And
back in the day when our sled and everything else was back there, oh my God, these guys said, "Oh, JoJo's," they'd be telling me it was in the fryer, man. Hilarious.
That's awesome.
I know.
All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit about the last guy on the line, the tight end. And I always said that you're kind of like the stepdad of the tight end in football, because you only get them part of the time, right?
Yeah.
You get them part of the time, and then when the offense needs them, they're like, send over the tight end. So you only get part of the time to teach him how to run block and do all that good stuff. So as far as, for the layman out there listening, tight ends, you're thinking Kelsey and all these great receiving tight ends, and they're catching touchdowns and slam dunking it over the goal post and all that stuff. But believe it or not, when they're not doing that, they still have to run block and be part of that offensive line.
Yeah. Tell
Tell us about how you incorporate that tight end into the run blocking game.
I think coaching those guys are the most frustrating, right? Because they come with me early. After we stretch, and get warmed up, they come to me to the shoots, right? And they got to bend their hips and they got to get down, and the receivers are running little routes, and catching the ball. And these guys think, "Oh man, ran out." They think that they should have the ball every time, they're out there, right? So I
was wide open.
Oh man. But it's frustrating for them because they want to be out there running it, and I tell them, I said, listen, those guys are running 3/4 of a mile while you're over here waiting in line to get in the chute. Shut the hell up, just trust me. You're going to appreciate this later on in the season, man. All of a sudden we got like receivers over in the chutes trying out for tight end halfway through the season because it's a rest spot. Right?
I think I might want to try tight end.
Yeah. We're pretty fortunate, from Calaveras, we always do more with less, and no fault of our own. It's just the way it is. And the Pop Warner team really helped us out a little bit, with some gear. And the most important thing we own is the chute, the two most important, and the blocking sled, the 5-man sled, right?
Yeah.
And they hooked us up with a chute, and it's a beauty, man. And the guys, early on they hate it. You got to bend at the hips, but after about 4 or 5 weeks, man, they're in and out, and it's just
it's muscle memory.
Yeah,
It teaches them. For the layman out there, the chute is like this rectangular metal contraption that's maybe 3.5, 4 feet in height, and teaches the players to keep their pad level low and to be able to navigate and move all underneath by staying underneath, is teaching them muscle memory to stay low, right?
Yeah. Not a issue for the 5'5", 155-pound guard center guys.
But that 6'1" guard
or that 6'3" guy with 245, she's bus driver ass on him, but yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about whether all-time tight ends you want to mention. Now, I got to tell you, if you don't mention Shane Torrey, Guy Dossie will lose his shit.
Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier, and you're talking about it, and Shane was a good one. Again, we didn't throw the ball much, but when we did, he was a force. Casey Cleland, we had him, and he was kind of a track guy. He was probably a fullback stature, build, and he could catch the ball probably 65% of the time, but when he caught it, it was a huge play. And in practice, man, I used to just go, oh my God, it was like skillets, hitting together, the ball bounce out. And Coach Canopy, to his, I don't know, praise or whatever you want to call it, he kept throwing to him. And man, he made some plays. I think we made the section title game his senior year. He was an all-league both ways guy, but it was a pretty good football team that year.
It almost seems like every time the tight end catches the ball in high school football, it's a big play because it's hard to. It's hard to cover the tight end.
Yeah,
he's like a forgotten receiver. Yeah. Oh, that's right, that guy is a receiver too.
Yeah, play action is a tight end's best friend, right? We ran this Y cross this year. We'd sell the double team and he'd chug his motor for half a count
and release,
and just play dodgeball. Get out there, miss people, and sneak around, and wide open,
What about Brian Goldston?
Goldie, I was just going to mention him. Goldie was
the redhead.
What a character too.
Loved him. He was so fun to be around.
He ended up playing it.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he played both ways, kicked. God damn, man, he did pretty damn well for us.
He did it all.
Yeah, he
kept everybody entertained.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a character, man. One of my all time favorites too, man. We link up every once in a while. I'll pull a picture up and I'll give him a text.
Yeah.
He's always stoked, man. Oh shit.
Yeah.
They're all having kids now, and
yeah, they're starting families, and
they're getting their dad bod on.
We're getting old, Coach.
I know, shit. Yeah. Going back to the tackle position, though.
Yeah,
we talked about looking what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly all the way across the line, and any player on the football field, we're looking for heart, right? The guy that's just going to just give his all-time best, right? And Caleb Steffes was one of those guys. He looked like an Oompa Loompa as a freshman, man. Remember those little Oompa Loompa guys when he was a freshman, and I was like, man, that guy, look at, he can move, and
he played tackle
and he hit guys. I don't know. I just remember seeing his knee pads down around his ankles. He had those pants on, but I mean, that guy, he played. I think we made it to the second round of the playoffs that year too.
He was on the show. He did a podcast with me.
Yeah,
and he brought up a funny story about you. Actually, he brought up a story. He said, I asked him, I think, was one of your fondest football memories. And he said there was stories, obviously, with the O-line, and he's doing drills with you, and you had the group going. And, towards the beginning of practice, maybe middle of practice, like we're nowhere even near the end. And he said one of the kids walked off, one of the linemen in your group, walked off because his mom was in the stands or had showed up, and she had brought him a big foot-long Subway sandwich, and he went off and he just started grubbing on the sandwich right in the middle of practice, and you were like, what the hell are you doing over there? So just total gave the riot act, and he said he just absolutely fell out laughing. He couldn't stop laughing that this kid right in the middle of drills decided, I need a foot-long.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was like, wow, that looks good right now. Working all day, you're out there sweating your butt off. Yeah,
but I mean,
I do remember that.
Just the audacity on this guy to go, hold on, time out.
Didn't I nickname him Subway? I think I did.
You might be right.
That might have been Subway. Holy shit!
You nicknamed a lot of guys.
I know, and ironically, that kid and his mother owned the Subway in San Andreas. I swear to God.
I remember.
Oh, shit.
I remember.
Dang, yeah.
That's awesome.
That was Subway.
That's awesome.
Subway.
So we talked about, the center, the guards, the tackles, the tight end, and some of the, all-time greats that you can remember. I mean, I'm sure, apologize to you out there if we forgot some names. I mean, there's plenty more. Calaveras is, especially up front, been known for some fantastic linemen.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about maybe an unsung lineman that you started coaching maybe in the beginning of the season, whether it's, now or way in the past, and you went, Jesus, this kid's not going to make it. It's like, what is he even doing here? And then next thing you know, holy smokes, he's contributing and he's helping.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I have several of them, Brian Clausen, I talk about him all the time. He's that kid that, he put on 60 pounds of COVID weight, and
so did I.
Yeah, but he was a 5'5", 250 pound kid.
Okay.
He was just hanging in skin. I looked at him and I'm like, holy shit, he couldn't. We're doing a gasser and he'd do like a half a gasser and
be like, that's it.
Shut her down.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, that kid ain't gonna. And he has made it, man.
Nice.
4 football seasons, and I didn't have it. After his freshman year, I didn't have a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't make it. He just kept coming back.
Right. Didn't have quit in him.
No, and it's a tribute to camaraderie. His buddies were out there, and he wanted to be out there. And this year he got a tackle for a loss.
Nice.
and fumble recover, man. And it's like he won the damn Super Bowl. It was just, it was great. Love it. I had his guy got it in the paper and I copied it and I put it on my screensaver and showed him. He's like, oh, that's badass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who else?
We, Carlos Dominguez,
Sancho.
Yeah. Sancho was another guy that showed up and he was 5'0" 190 nothing, or
Right.
something, and he, again, all his buddies came out and he kept grinding through it. I used to joke with him. He walked like he broke his hips and those guys, they're in the body cast, and they've got the rod so their knees don't come together. Well, that's kind of how he ran, and he played, I think his senior year, he played every single position on our offensive line. And made the all-league picture.
And started.
Yeah,
He started. Here's a kid that you looked at and said, there's no way in hell this guy's a starter.
Yeah.
Or he'll be lucky to get any reps. Next thing you know, he's starting, and he becomes the utility guy that you're moving all over the place. And I specifically remember being in coaches' meetings, and that's when we're kind of going over the next week's game plan and practice plans.
Yeah.
And then we discuss personnel. And then I remember you putting his name up there, and all of us, not just me, all the coaches would look at you and go, "What? Are you serious?"
Trust me.
And then you were like, "Trust me."
Yeah.
And you know what? You were right.
Yeah, and that's one of those, the intangibles too. He was the runt, the baby brother of all his buddies, and man, he grounded out and went through it and came out on top. I mean, it's not like he won a Super Bowl or anything, but he made the all damn league picture.
Yeah.
And his senior
awesome.
year, he played on right side, left side, center. I forgot about him, man. He's one of my favorites too. It really is. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Coleman Kasich, he played in 10, I think. 10,
Yeah, in 10
or 11.
I think,
Yeah. Coleman Kasich was another San Andres boy,
I remember him.
Yeah, he was.
I think he was voted most likely to be a rancher.
Yeah. You're damn right. And he is.
And he is.
Yeah. But he had that country toughness,
Yeah.
He wasn't the most athletic, but you could always count on him doing the dirty things that need to be done.
He was tough.
Yeah. And I always used to go to him. I said, man, I don't want to hurt this guy, but fucking cut him while the guard's in contact just one time. Okay. Slow him down, Okay, coach. And he'd take care of business, He played on that Monty team.
Yeah. 2010.
Yeah. That was a good group. He was tough. Again, country guy. Jason Leatherman, another one of those little scrappy little San Andres guys. He was an East San Andres guy.
Yes.
So yeah, we like that. Yeah.
Yes.
And Brandon Brooks was another guy that was, just kind of as a freshman. I'll tell you a good story about this, and I don't know if I should, but he was getting after his mom his freshman year after practice. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to hang out with his buddies, and he's chirping off to his mom, and she's doing her best to not be embarrassed by this guy chirping this kid, this freshman 14-year-old anyway. And I hear it, and I'm like, oh, I got to say something. So I grabbed him up, and I said, listen, buddy, you ever do that around me again in front of you disrespect your mother like that, you'll never play on this team again. And I'm like, you never play for us, and he's like, okay. And they walked away. Next day, here comes this 6'4" construction worker charging at me, his dad.
Lonnie.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, man, here we go. I'm going to have to defend myself in front of everybody now,
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pull my shorts down. My underwear going to be hanging. I'm just thinking about all that. And he's all, you Coach Anderson? I said, yeah. And he goes, I appreciate what you did. And I said, oh, man. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome. But that's a good family too.
It's a very good family. I love that
Yeah.
family. And my first interaction with the dad, Lonnie, is he came up to me. I was running the D line, and Brandon was playing a little bit on the D line, and he came up to me. He goes, Coach, just keep a boot in his ass.
Yeah, that's the kind of parent they were, man. I loved it. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to just put a boot in his ass, Coach.
Yeah, he was a tough kid. He had bus driver butt too, man.
Okay, Coach. So let's move on a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about both the run and pass responsibilities, just the basics. So nothing complex, but the basics for the whole O-line. In run, here's their basic responsibilities. In pass, here's their basic responsibilities.
Yeah. So I took this from Coach Canepa and Coach Hogwood back in the day. we come from the attacking, quick set, offensive passing technique. We're not a big, drop step and, give 5 kicks and, thumbs together, palms up, we're going to get on you. We're going to shoot to our target and we're going to hold as long as we can. We get a flag, so be it. Just keep those feet moving and keep the quarterback clean, that's our 3 and 5 step philosophy. And we work it. We call it King of the Hill, over there, and kids love it. But I prefer play action myself. It's just those linebackers and DBs have to read multiple keys, and we try to sell play action as a run. Obviously, it's tough in certain situations because if your left side tackle gets beat and you only have one back in and he sees strong side A gap, pressure, he's got to go get it, and tackle gets beat and your quarterback gets smoked in the pocket, So that's the only downfall about play action. If it's not off right away, it's doomed. So,
right.
Yeah. And then we've got screen blocking, right? And, our screen blocking, you hold for a second, throw the guy to the side, pick up your landmark and try to block in space. It's humorous sometimes, but all you got to do is get in their way. And these guys, they like Coach Canopy used to say, throw a no-hitter out there and the DB comes in and makes a play. So, but screens are really, really a nice play as well for us.
They're a nice play and they work well.
Yeah.
Tough to work on the timing to get it to really go good.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as coaches, you mess up a screen 2 times, can it, forget it. Go to the next one.
Or you're actually in a 5-step trying to actually pass pro, but it looked like a screen because the guy didn't do very good job.
Yeah, a lot of leakage is what I say. Too much leakage. Kids have fun with that statement, I'm sure.
So like in pass blocking, footwork, hands, what's the keys there as far as the lineman goes?
Yeah, your feet are the most important thing in pass pro, right? You have to have great balance. You've got to, have electric hips, and coincide with your hands. It's one of those things. If you don't have feet, you're going to get beat. That's a simple statement, right?
Right.
We get guys early on that just want to bend at the waist and shove the guy out of the way.
The next thing you know, they're leaning and reaching and trying to get to a guy, and then they're off balance.
Yeah. When I go to my pass pro side of the ball, we do that, what we call the King of the Hill, and if a kid starts leaning, we just keep him going through the whole crew. We got 14 guys. He's going to block 14 guys. And, then he gets the idea, I better get out of here early. Let's do it right instead of dogging it. Right. So, but again, when we do it, we're successful, so I believe that that's a crucial part of our game. And I know, going back to the statement earlier, I know Coach Canopy is going to, emphasize that this year, and we're going to throw the ball quite a bit. If I have my way, it's going to be play action, but he's dedicated to it, and we're ready to go. I'm excited, about what's coming up. I missed the coaches meeting last week, and he sent me the schedule for the summer. I'm like, holy shit, man. That's awesome. We're heading in the right direction,
Yeah.
Now, if we can get all the kids and coaches there,
right.
My God, that'll be something to behold,
Yeah. I think it's going to be an exciting season. I'm looking forward to calling it again for KVGC radio and getting all the games and calling the action, seeing a quarterback like Kern come back.
Yeah.
Seeing some, all these skill positions and running backs and the O-line that you got going. So it's going to be a dynamic team for sure. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about those pass responsibilities and screen 3 and 5 steps. So let's talk a little bit about run responsibility. For me, I've always said it's as simple as, listen, you need to move a guy that don't want to be moved.
Right. Yeah.
And move him where he don't want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. With our offense, we do a lot of motion with our Z back, right? So teams tend to jump our count, and we early on we get comfortable with the on one, so I see that's part of the game within the game, right? Is keeping those guys off balance. But O-line, we want to move forward. Our offense is predicated on working the sweep to get our inside game going. That's
Sure.
kind of the philosophy, right? Trap, go, power row. So we do a lot of double teams, not a lot of one-on-one. Honestly, we get that under overlook or the base 50 look. Our rules are our rules. If the guy's not there, we're going to climb. So
Right.
yeah, it's pretty simple, and we rep the heck out of it. The guys get tired of it, but we will block plays probably, I don't know, 150 times a week. Just the base, man. We're just keep doing it,
Run it again,
repping. Yeah, we're not. You don't have to be what would Coach Canopy used to say, a space scientist or something like that. Yeah, but you don't. We can figure that out.
Yeah, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of communication with these guys. I mean, when you think about it, you've got the cadence, right?
Yeah.
Which is down, sit, hut,
Yeah.
right? All that stuff. You got the snap count. Is it on 1, 2? What's it on? You got the play itself.
Right.
Are we running sweep? Are we running right up the middle? What are we doing? What's the play? And then you've got defensive front changes, right? They lined up this way. Now they shifted this way. So you've got a whole lot of things going on. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of communication with the line, and especially communication with each other as they're up there.
Yeah, and it goes all the way back to the backfield too on some of our calls. We try to teach a decoy call up front early on, just so teams like Amador, they know what we do. Argonaut, they know what we do. They know our calls. But communications is the most important thing. Getting the play from the coach on the sidelines to the huddle, get it to the team. The guys are arguing about something. The O-line guys are arguing about something, or one guy, he doesn't have a mouthpiece. Now he's got to get out of the game. Right. And we got to bring, it's happened, man. And then we got to get, third team guy in there, because the second team guy was on AP, or whatever, like, fuck, I just put him from, corner. Now he's a left tackle for us or whatever for one play. And I'm like, God damn, so our center's got to think about the count, the front. All of a sudden, Johnny third team comes in and he's got to tell him what to do because the tackle next to him's not going to tell him, or the guard, he's worried about what he's doing.
Right.
So yeah, it's super important.
So do you rep that in practice? You kind of go over, besides just repping the play itself and responsibility, you're repping communicating.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, all of my centers really have taken it quickly, and they, I rely on those guys to decipher what I'm saying to the rest of the guys. You know how I get,
So is your center, would you say it's fair to say your center is kind of the quarterback of the line?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. For the most part, those guys are, the guys in the weight room first, they're going to be the last one there, but he does a great job, man. He's there. He picks up weights when he's done. And he probably goes and doorbell ditches for UNICEF after practice, I don't know, but he's a saint, man. That guy, he's everywhere. Omnipresent is what I call it. But our centers are the key to our football team. That thing doesn't get off.
Gotcha.
It doesn't play.
Well, the play don't start until he starts it.
Yeah. So we like to be physical up front, when we can. That's important.
All right. So, Coach, we spoke briefly on some of the basics for the offensive linemen. So now let's paint a few, just broad strokes. We don't got to get into a whole lot of detail, but some broad strokes on some more complex schemes. Say like, you mentioned earlier, combo blocks, double teams, pooling, trapping. For some of the basic football fans out there that don't understand pooling and trapping, let's go over a little bit of that for them, the basic, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
can you imagine, this freshman, first year of football, he's all excited and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I learned how to trap today,"
Great. What's that mean?
I had a great reach block today, Coach said, it's tough. If you're not football savvy and you haven't been around it, good luck understanding it, but, we have our calls up front, right? Depending on the play, it's either a combination between the center guard or a combination between the guard tackle, or full on back block, bulldog block is what we call it, and the guy's blocking one gap away, So there's a lot of things that go into our scheme for sure.
Mm-hmm. So like let's go. I just recently bought a shirt, and I'm so proud of it. Even though it's like the most basic of football plays, but I love it because I don't have a lot of shirts like this. And it says it's a trap, and it's got drawn up the trap of the trap play. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So a lot of the times there'll be a defensive lineman that is just giving us fits. He's getting off the ball. He's flying through. He's 1.5 yards deep, almost right on the snap count. We're like, Jesus, why can't we block this guy? So one of the things that we'll do to help alleviate that situation is we'll trap them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's explain to the folks, what does that mean?
Well, it means you're trying to eliminate this guy's power, strength, and speed. So we're trying to counter that. So if a guy we catch guys getting greedy. We call it he's getting greedy. He's getting too deep. Whatever you want to call it. Even in practice, you got kids jumping, and we're like, oh, okay, we ran this play 4 times. Let's teach him a lesson, right?
Let's trap his ass.
Yeah. So we give him one in the ribs. It slows him down a little bit. Normally, the kid will come out and have a little water afterwards. But So it's depending on the alignment up front. We've got a combination between one guard and the center, and the other guard will pull and kick out either the 3 technique, 4 technique, or 5 technique.
Right.
And that means the alignment of the defensive man.
So the guy that's giving you fits. The O lineman that's in front of him is going to let him go.
Yep.
He's going to go to the next level and say, go ahead, go have what you want. So he's going to come flying up the field, but then next thing you know, there's a pulling guard that he doesn't see, and he's going to ear hole him and get him from a different angle. Yeah.
The best guy that described, and he was a O-line advocate was John Madden. He would play, those guys from the Cowboys, Larry Allen.
Yeah.
Oh, look at him again. Oh, and then trying bam, wham. Yeah. So
he'll feel that in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, to the person that doesn't really know much about football, you would think the O-line guys just stand around and watch the other guys work. But they're doing the damage.
There's a lot of chess playing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chess playing going on about how guys are getting blocked.
Right.
And if one guy's getting beat, how we can kind of alleviate that. And so a lot of chess playing happening up front that it's funny. Sometimes I'll watch football and my wife will sit there and watching me watch football and I'll see the play and the ball will be snapped and I go, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then like 2 seconds later, there he goes, touchdown. She's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, I saw up front. I saw the block. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, there he goes.
Yeah. The best invention for an offensive line guy or a D-line guy is the end zone camera. Our guy this year did a really, really good job. What was his name? Oh gosh. Anyway.
Dart.
No, the kid.
Oh, his assistant.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
Oh, dude, he was a rock star for us, man. He did it.
First couple games, he was kind of shy, a little timid. Man, by week 3, he's like, move over, scoot over. I gotta get this thing set up.
Yeah, he's air guitaring on the sidelines during an AC/DC song. I love that guy, man. Yeah. Rob Dart does a great job too, man.
Yeah, so much for all our film and the end zone camera, like you mentioned.
That's the most important tool for me. All you guys like to see all 11 or all 22, whatever you want to call it, and I'm like, let's run the end zone cam. Let's go.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, Coach. So, tell us, how hard is it to bring it all together? I mean, you got the centers, the guards, the tackles, the tight end, picking those players, then seeing if there's chemistry between them. How many times do you think you have to change that rotation around on the line throughout the year?
Oh, man. It's constant. High school football is hard, man. You get kids that, especially for where we are. I'm sure Sonora gets it, in all those rural schools, but, we get a kid that, maybe he's a knucklehead in class, you get him all the way to Thursday and Thursday afternoon, he gets suspended for having a dip in or a upper decker, whatever they call them nowadays. But yeah. And then you've got to, you have to prepare for that ahead of time. You can't just go, here you go.
All right.
We're doomed at that point. So I'm constantly just kind of giving guys reps and guys will weed themselves out. You can see the guys that really want to work and be an offensive player. Being an offensive lineman's hard. because you have to remember shit, right?
Right.
You know, a D lineman, you're moving 2-3 shades, you know, and you got a linebacker yelling at you to go right or left. He's helping you right there, right? So, yeah, it's tough. You've got to want to do it, and just like anything else in the world, you know, you got to sharpen, you know, to skin that deer. You know, you got to sharpen that knife. So,
Right.
yeah, so they really have to work at it, and it's a unique spot for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done it to where right when I think like, oh, we're right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is our group. This is what we need. And then boom, there goes an ankle, there goes a knee, there goes, and then it's like you feel like you're back to the drawing board trying to all right, well, if we're gonna sometimes replacing one spot, you got to move 3 guys to replace one spot.
That's, you know, it's funny. Gosh, I can't remember his name. Jacob Ratto, right? He just hung around for 2 years. You know, he's 6'4", 260 pounds, you know, just a big, tall, long, you know, straight off the bus. You're like, oh shit, this guy's you know, he's an All-American here, you know, lifted pretty well. Anyway, he didn't like being an offensive player his junior year. And I'm like, you need to play guard, you know, have a 6'4" guard, you know, with long arms, man, you know, and he just didn't want to do it. Right. So finally he got the confidence. And I think that's a lot of it. He got the confidence to learn a few plays. Then you get some success, and then shit, he turned into a first team all-leaguer for us this year, you know, and he didn't want any, it was like, it was poison oak, you know, offensive. He's like, no, I'm good. You know,
hiding in the back.
Yeah.
Who else can we put in there? He's hiding.
This 6'4" guy hiding in the back, you know, but you know, having guys like Sancho, you know, Carlos, that knows every position, was nice, you know, but again, I've always just been accustomed to figuring out who wants to be there and honing those guys and not worry about the D line only guys. You know, I keep telling them, I say, you know, we only have three spots up there, you know?
Yeah.
We've got 5 over here. And think about it, knuckleheads.
Okay, Coach. So not to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna.
Okay.
You mentioned quite a few former and current players that play the offensive line for Calaveras. If you were putting the Calaveras dream team up front together, who would be those guys? Where would you put them? And let's just think about them like in their prime, right?
Yeah.
So-and-so in their prime at center, so-and-so in the guard. And like, this is going to be that dream team Calaveras all-star front line. So
I'm going way back here, you know. We had a pretty good tight end, Jason Upchurch, back in 92, 93. And I was a freshman coach during his senior season, and we had 2 really, really good tight ends, and Jason Upchurch and oh my God, I'm cheating on his name, Gonzalez or something like that. Anyway, he ended up playing at Davis.
I know who you're talking about.
God damn it!
Yeah, he played D-line at Davis or something like that.
Yeah, those 2 guys were really good, but Jason Upchurch was a bad dude, man. He blocked like he was a linebacker. He just demolished guys. He was just so talented. So I think he didn't get a lot of chances to catch the ball because he was so devastating. But when he get out, he was the man. He was really the man at tight end. Right tackle, got to be my Troy Baker, man. He's like the gold standard for me. You know, he did it all. Most coachable kid. He'd like to argue with you about stuff, but he got it, you know, after a while.
He wanted to know why.
Yeah, exactly. and you know, Ryan Upchurch, man, at right guard, he was a stud, man. He was just that guy that would lay his body out there and just whatever it took.
So by the way, in case for all of you who's keeping score, yes, there are 2 Upchurches, 2 different guys. They are brothers. They are related.
Yeah.
They didn't play at the same time, but they are related. So you got 2 Upchurches on the line. I love it. Go ahead, keep going.
So when Ryan was a Pop Warner guy, I lived out on Gold Strike Road, and I gave him a ride home every once in a while. They lived out there with their grandma, and one day I said, "Hey, do you got a ride?" You know, and he's standing there, and I'm like, he'll tell this story a little bit. different than I do, but he's like, hey, I don't have a ride. And I said, oh, no, it's cool, man. And I go, are you crying? He's like, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. You know, Ryan is.
Right.
But he was bummed that he didn't have a ride. I'm like, man, I'll give you a ride anytime, anywhere for the rest of your life. He's that guy to me. So
nice.
Anyway, yeah.
And ended up, by the way, teaching at Calaveras.
Yeah.
Wrestled. He was a wrestling coach at Calaveras for a long time. And then I believe went to go coach at a college.
Dickinson State somewhere up there.
Yeah.
And that's where Gongora
Donovan.
was.
Yeah, Donovan went up there from Oregon State and moved and transferred over.
Yep. So, if I would have coached Donovan, he would have been, he's one of my all-time favorites, man. I was over at Amador at the time, and
he's a stud.
Yeah, man.
He's a stud.
I could remember you guys, we'd be drinking beer somewhere, talking football, and they're like, well, we need him at tackle, or we need him at center. No, we need him at fullback. We need him.
The game we played you guys, when we played Amador, he did start the whole game at offensive guard.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, we put him at fullback, and I think we fed him the ball like 8 times in a row.
So that was Argonaut.
Was that Argonaut?
Yeah, and that's the game where he was playing. I think he was playing center.
Yeah. And then we put him at fullback later in the game.
And when he was playing center, he was pushing the pile, and he reached back and grabbed the fullback or U-back and threw him over the first down marker.
He souffled him.
Single most favorite play I've ever seen in my life.
That's awesome.
That play was it, man.
I loved that game because Argonaut, you say we were playing, because they knew the play. Yeah. They knew who was getting it, and they couldn't stop it.
It was that last drive of the game.
Yeah.
Billy and I and the coaches over there, we watched that thing over and over and over.
And they just couldn't stop it. It was just so like demoralizing for them. Like, we just lost the game here.
We were playing you guys the next week, and we're like, shit, man, what are we gonna? But the thing about those games, when you're watching film, you're supposed to be, position specific, right?
Right.
Once you see something like that, all coach stuff comes out. You're just watching that one guy,
right? Just going, wow.
And we're like, run that back. And the running back was a 3-yard loss, but he's playing center, and he pushed the nose guard and the linebacker, 30 yards back.
Just follow me. Come here. I'll take you there.
Yeah. So, it
that was before the whole tush push in the NFL was happening.
Yeah, man, he was good, man. He was really, really good. But he would be on this list if I were to coach him, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah.
Center,
it's got to be Gary Gellerman. We've had some good ones. Let me not leave off Nick Valente we can go him with the tackles over here, but Gary Gellerman. Eli Tom was tough. I was tough on Eli. He didn't like me for a long time. Gary just went. He was a different beast, man.
Gary was a man amongst boys.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah.
He was just you don't coach those guys too much. You calm them down.
You just point in the right that way, and he'll take care of the rest.
You just worry about him getting too hot and start pulling people's helmets off.
Right.
But what a giant stud he was. Yeah.
So your left guard, your other guard.
Yeah, my left guard, we potentially, and I probably have a few that I'm leaving off of this list, but Michael Crandall, the kid we have right now.
Like it.
He potentially could be the best one that I've ever coached. He's another cowboy wrestling, just a country kid, tougher than nails. What is he? 5'8", 180, but he's just tough.
Nice.
So if we can keep him healthy this summer, last year he was bronc riding or something and broke his collarbone. So we didn't have him for, 8 weeks.
It's always non-football related, right?
Yeah.
How many injuries has Calaveras football players over the years on non-football related injuries? Guys riding their dirt bikes, being bucked off a bull. Yeah.
Well, you can add this into the non-football injury list too. Girls.
That's a whole nother episode.
You get one hard breakup, man. It's going to take three players out because they're dating the same girl.
Oh God. Okay, so left tackle, that quick tackle, the blind side.
Yeah, Kenny Moody was pretty darn good. Coleman Kasich was pretty good, but Kenny Moody's got to be the guy. We had some guys back in the day, early on under Stepanski, that were pretty good. Duncan Kidd, he went on. He was bad, dude. He went on and played at UOP, and then when UOP, dropped football, he went up and played at Chico State and did really well up there. And then Chico dropped, and he went down and played at San Jose State, and he was an all-conference guy down there.
Wow.
I don't know why I remember that stuff, but
nice.
I do. Yeah. So he was pretty good, pretty darn good, So,
all right.
We can add. He's not going to like this too much, but at like a backup guard position because
honorable mention.
Yeah. Brent Boitano.
Guard?
Yeah, I know. He wasn't much of a quarterback. I'm joking, Brent. Joking. Buddy.
Oh man.
Yeah. If you listen to Brent, he was
our buddy up there in Montana.
Yeah, my guy. We miss you, buddy. No,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I was writing it down, and then you said the name. I go, wait a minute, guard?
Yeah. Well, he played in the option, so he took a lot of hits to the head. So we can give him the honorary guard moniker, I guess.
So he had to have the toughness of the guard at the quarterback position.
Yeah, he was a McCollum Hill Golden Gopher too. So
yeah,
they make him tough over there.
Well, that's good stuff. Coach, we're about out of time. Really appreciate your time coming down here and talking offensive line. Any last comments you want to make around anything around the O-line?
Football general, O-line's O-line, but I'm pretty excited about this football season. I've taken a few weeks off away from it and we're getting ready to start heading uphill, It's an all uphill battle until playoffs come, So, yeah, it looks like we got a few new coaches, Ryan Upchurch, or not Ryan, but Jason Upchurch is coming over from Amador.
Nice.
We got Aaron McMichael. He's a kid that played fullback for us back in the day. I think he was on Eli Tom's team. He played fullback and linebacker for us. Made the Lions Club game. Stud.
That's great.
He's going to help out. Yeah. So Tap's back. Pops is back down there. So we're. I know I'm missing somebody, but yeah, man, it's looking up.
Well, I'm definitely excited. I mean, here we are in the month of May.
Yeah.
The weather is getting a little bit warmer and spring-like, and before you know it, we're going to be in the dead heat of summer and looking to start into a whole nother brand new season of Calaveras Red Hawk football. And I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting out of my backyard. I'm walking around my dog now, waiting for him to poop. That's how bored I am. Right
following around with the little pooper scooper.
Yeah. I miss a day. I'm looking forward to it. No, that's not one of my favorites.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate it. I want to thank all of you out there for listening. Thanks to Coach Scott Anderson for taking the time to come out to the studio and spend some time with us. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. Be sure to share the page with all your followers and friends. Remember that we will have 2 new episodes drop every month from now until August when the high school football season begins. And then we will start going every week during the football season. Until next time, we are out. So first and goal, Calaveras, Curran under center. He'll hand off. It's the same play. 32 on the left side, and why not? Touchdown, Calaveras!
And again, that left side of that O-line, they're doing a fabulous job. I mean, again, he was around the corner, and he didn't get touched until he got to the end zone.
So with 2:29 left here in the first quarter, Calaveras rushes in their 3rd score of the game. 32, Caden Spur around the left tackle. As soon as he got the ball, nothing but running room. And I'll tell you what, he's got to buy lunch for that whole left side of the offensive line this coming week, right?